between a man, a professor, a professor, and a professor. Yes, well, the professor got it. And if you are in doubt, like to tender her, exhibit CA1, she is the house, the incompetent of faculty professor, and then your care for you of mine. They are pretty convinced from those devices, the current and the incoming. That's my constituency. Let me say that I'm happy to be here today, and my joy is found because it's like homecoming to me, to this ancient and modern time called for your time. Why have I said so? So 55 years plus ago, I was a student in Oyo, and my dad also was a student long time ago in this compound, St. Andrew's College. Don't ask me the year, but it was so for us, the school coming. And I recall with nostalgia that as a Form 1 student, the chairman of council and pro-chancellor was he was there before us. And he was our senior and also the assistant housemaster. I think of Dr. Tolu. He may not know, but he's on the 7th floor already. And it was start to welcome us and also to protect us against seniors whose hobby was to bully the young ones. He was very protective. I thank him for the protection and also for his welcoming hands. I also say that I have relationship. They have let the cat out of the bag with the vice chancellor, Professor Lebo Oduwole, and also with the dean of law, Professor Larry, not there for SAA. They have let the cat out of the bag. What else do I can say? Just to confirm. Look, how many people are in evidence class here? Evidence nearby. Have you come across a topic called corroboration? Corroboration. Evidence that confirms a particular evidence. She has given evidence that I am her husband, and that was why she put the cap on my head. And I confirm that indeed I'm her husband because she's married to my cousin. So I'm very careful, and she's taking good care of me and continues to take care of him that give the opportunity in the world to come to still take her into my wife. Thank you. As for who's on level, come a long way. Whenever he wants to do for me, he will start with Oriki Say, what do you select? He knows how to eulogize twins because he's so fortunate to have married a twin. This is a telling for another couple. And each time he's flagging and said, no, you don't know what you have in the house. You have a tiny video in the house. So it gives you a wing to fly anywhere you want to. With Kenny behind you, keep on flying. Now I have left the issue of that the vice chancellor and the pro-chancellor. The issue I like to, by way of introduction, is that when I got relation to present the lecture. I asked Mr. D, what is the lecture? What's the topic on? Any topic. He says, I trust you, I give you a blank check to present the topic of your choice. I cannot tell you enough. But that puts me to a problem. Says that I stand before you today as a distinguished professor of public law, University of Lagos. Evidence is my first law. That I always post that if you know evidence, you can get away with any court. You know what to do and what to do. Those who want to practice amongst you, please be very, very attentive in class when you are in evidence class. I also teach constitutional law. I teach criminal law, although I'm not a criminal, I teach criminal law. I also teach environmental law. The question is, which among these topics do I lecture you on? If I take evidence, for example, it will be year 4 or year 5 students that will benefit. Year 2, contact evidence. Against constitutional law, those who are in year 5 may have forgotten so much about it. And you are happy that the law tries to ensure equality. Those who are in equity will tell you that equity is all about equality, treating the equals the equal way. So then the debate chose the topic, which is neutral, which none of you can boast that they have done as a course, but which will whet your appetite as you transit from here to the law school and also to the profession. You can ask you many questions about why are you in the profession. You give me different answer. My dad says I should do it. I love the click and gap. I was a star in digital getting society, and so on and so forth. But beyond the alluring nature of the profession, we have to also acknowledge the fact that law stands tall as one of the 3 early professions in the world. 3 recognized professions are law, medicine, and clergy. Those are the 3 earliest professions. And today, law occupies a prominent position, a place in our society. And that for you to see the power of law, if you look at the Nigerian Constitution, if you are appointing a minister, anybody can be a minister of health. Anybody can be a minister of education. Anybody can be aviation minister. But the only profession that insists that each member should occupy the ministerial post or commissioner post is legal profession. In other words, when you want to appoint an attorney general of the federation of the state, not anybody, it must be a member of the legal profession. Nobody else can occupy that position, courtesy of the Constitution. So that shows you the importance of the profession. Again, we looked at, because of its importance and because you are here, you need to know the things about the profession, what you are in. There are also members of the university community there who are not lawyers. I can see the person wants to be a lawyer, also at 70. It's doable. I can have a student that graduated at 75. I call him the youngest man, but he said his life ambition is to be buried big account. And indeed, when he died, he was buried in big account. So it's possible if you want to study law. Of course, if you don't want, you have also nieces, nephews, who are as what to do to study law or something else. Well, being here affords the opportunity to also concentrate in the right direction. So the title is Gateway and Pathway. In other words, how do you get the profession? That is the gateway. My state, for example, is Gateway State. It says that it's the gate that leads to other states. Forgetting that Lagos State, or you say we have gateway nation. Maybe after Lagos State, but you cannot get anywhere without passing through states. If we walk our gates, unless you fly, you cannot go by road. So maybe now that you are going the other coastal roads, but even coastal roads, you still pass through part of the state. So we still need gateway. So gateway means how did you enter into the profession? What do you need to enter into the profession? And pathways means that when you enter into the profession, which direction can you go? Which path are you going to follow? So that is summary of the lecture. But in so doing, we also try to look at it a bit from historical perspective. How did they come across this profession called law in Nigeria? Then, what are the other historical development? Then, where are we now post 1962 in the profession? Having said that, what are the how do you enter the profession in terms of the university education? Then after entering the profession, what do you do? What are the various opportunities available to you? These are the issues to discuss. Then thereafter, when you enter the profession, what is your role in terms of making sure that your profession remains noble, that you do not bring shame and disrepute to the profession? So that is the aspect that deals with the ethical issues. So the first part is the historical part, in which we identify three phases. Phase one of the profession was 1876 to 1914. Phase two, 1914 to 1962. Phase three, post 1962. Now, in acknowledging the profession, can anybody tell me, you know, the legal system, the very first person in Nigeria to be registered as a lawyer? I'm happy that you don't do it, in the sense that you have not been taught and you cannot give what you don't have. Those who will be landlord will tell you that never that cannot give what you don't have. So the very first person to be registered as a lawyer in Nigeria is Nigeria to qualify. It's called Sakwara Williams. And it's always up somewhere there, not see him. Some people will say, okay, that's the very first one. The very first Nigerian to be a lawyer. Then you will join by other people like Sir Kutiri Adjasa, then Edmund Macaulay, and also Erin Oluwolemu. These were the first set of lawyers that qualified abroad. They went abroad and they qualified. And they were enrolled out and came back to practice in Nigeria. In that era of the 1860s, so 1876 to 1914, there was, those of you who are economists will talk about demand and supply. If demand and supply, what are we going to have? Scarcity. And the prices will go up. So one of the baggages of imperialism was the introduction of British type of courts in Nigeria. Don't forget that the British was our colonial masters. So when they came, came with missionary work. They also came with civilization, and they also brought people into their courts. So the issue is that where are the lawyers who the job? There were not too many of them. So demand for lawyers outstripped the supply. So that meant that they had to quickly, during that period, have an arrangement whereby people who are not lawyers were allowed to practice law. They call them articled clerks. These are people who have worked in the offices of lawyers for 5 years and more. They were a lot of practice. I have news for you. When you get close to the bar and you want to practice, you have some people who are not lawyers, but they are law clerks. Then they are more experienced than you. You know the law, but they know that this is what to fight. If you like, you should listen to them and process whatever they're telling you because they have experience. So the likes of such clerks were allowed to practice. We also have people who are not the law clerks as such, but but they were also, those article clerks were expected to act as baristas as solicitor. Then they have to pass some examination here and there. You also have what we call local attorneys. They were allowed to practice if they were considered to be fit and proper by the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Of course, from there we'll look at the phase 2, that's 1914 to 1962. You and I know that in 1914 something happened in Nigeria in terms of amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorate to now form what we call the present Nigeria, courtesy of Lord Lugard. But by that year, we had more lawyers, and it was not necessarily how people who are not qualified lawyers to come and practice. So that period saw the end of article clerks and local attorneys that they were not allowed to practice again. Again, those lawyers who are qualified to practice are people who have been called to bar, English bar, England, I think Ireland and Scotland. Wales was excluded. If you are qualified those jurisdictions, you can come back to Nigeria, whether you are a foreigner or a Nigerian, to practice law in Nigeria. Of course, they passed the examination, but they did not go to school like you and I are going or have gone to study law. Law degree was not required. They were just attending what they call Inns of Courts that gave them lectures and also dinner which they had to attend. Once they are able to pass the exam, they are qualified. And once qualified, they come back to Nigeria to practice. So that was the situation during that period. But as time went on, there were identified structural defects or deficiencies. Somebody trained abroad, English law, cannot understand customary law of the Yoruba of the Igbo or even Islamic law of the northern part of the country. So there was a gap, there was a mismatch between what they learned and what they came to meet on the field. Again, there were some developments in 1945, but the real development came in 1959. Then you have awareness that there is need to indigenize law practice in Nigeria. So the government set up the Unsworth Committee and charged it with the responsibility of reforming legal profession. In other words, give them a blank check. How do we address these identified deficiencies in the system? Of course, the committee came up with robust recommendations. Among these recommendations, which are very revolutionary, is that the legal profession or law should have Nigeria should have what they call its own legal system. I'm sure you now study Nigerian legal system, not the English legal system. That is the origin of it. Now let's have what they call autochthonous. I'm not sure that you come across that word before. Autochthonous law. Our own law, our own home-based law. So that was the beginning of it. That was the recommendation. They also said that law school, that University of Ibadan to establish the law faculty where relevant Nigerian will be taught. They also recommended that should be a school where vocational training, that was practical training of lawyers who want to practice in Nigeria. Of course, the graduates from other universities, which are not Nigerians, will spend more time in the vocational institution. That vocational institution is what is now called the which you are all, by the grace of God, get to and see what is happening there. They will teach you more of the profession. What they teach you there are given theories. Law school will teach you the rudiments and the practice of law. So that recommendation was accepted, and Nigerian Law School was opened to 8 students in 1963. Of course, you had laws starting in from Council of Legal Education of Act of 1962 was there. UI, that was the existing university, was not smart enough to establish the faculty of law. But Lagos, very cosmopolitan, was smart enough to have the faculty of law. Also, I think Suka and APU had their own faculty of law. So graduates of the faculty now proceed to the Nigerian Law School for vocational training. Of course, you also have graduates for common law countries. They are also but when you check your transcripts and it shows that you are deficient in some areas, in some subjects, like land law, it is where they have back for foreign grants. You spend time for it and when it pass. Those who went to civil law countries, not common law countries, their problems are more. They send them to university, come and spend at least 1 year there. Back at 3 months. You spend 1 year taking more courses than those who are going to the law school, who are common law countries. So the real the real foundation of modern legal profession can be traced to the Oswald report that as Oxford should have a vocational training school. Also have a university degree to be able to. Before then, it was not necessary. If, of course, once you are registered there, you can come back. But come 62, 63, it didn't happen that way. So what happened is that those of them who had qualified in England before 63, the moment they had that push, that they want to spend 3 months in law school, they all ran back home, including my father, who was a boy. These two ran back home. That was also because by the 1963 arrangement. So that to focusing on the historical development of law. And I would like to call your attention to some people who don't go to law school but are allowed to practice. You could be a law graduate and refuse to practice. But if you occupy the position, I don't know how it happens, you occupy the position of either the Attorney General, it's not possible, or Solicitor General, or DPP, or you work in the of the ministry, you are allowed to work as you are working there to practice law under the umbrella of your ministry, but you cannot be involved in private legal practice. The 1962 arrangement also ensured that some people, in some cases, that require special skills, you could bring in somebody who is qualified and to come and do a case in Nigeria by special permission. I'd like to interrogate the case of Awolowo against the Minister of Internal Affairs. I don't know whether you come across your legal system. Then you are applying the internal for all those cases, the case where for Tuesday, Friday, you look at no fight. He now went to hire a lawyer from abroad. Got permission to bring the lawyer in. And as soon as the lawyer was landing in Nigeria at the airport, they started with notice of being a prohibited immigrant. You don't go save us for cancer. They're not just starting now. Somebody is standing trial for prison. He brought in a lawyer of his choice. And the lawyer could not come in. And the airport, no, anybody accused of an offense or even civil case is entitled to a counsel of his choice. The court said that is a literal interpretation. That that counsel must not only be willing to defend you, he must be able to defend you. In other words, where he suffered any disability by virtue of being a protected who could not enter Nigeria as of right, they so died for that. So that was a cutting on the historical perspective. Now we move to the gateway to legal profession. How do you become a member of the profession? I think my dear students don't need that again. That to know that you need to have the LLB. You must sit for UMT, pass the exam, and get to the score, the cutoff point of your university. Of course, for law, I believe that you cannot do without English language. Am I right? How about English literature? Is it compulsory? So for lawyers, English, but how about mathematics? For lawyers, no. Thank you. You like just asking for mathematics. If to be a student now, seeking for admission, I won't be able to get admission. Guess what? That's what we I had a small way for mathematics. So thank you for still allowing us to have mathematics. I didn't like figures, but I know how to calculate money. But when it comes to figures, I don't like. Then of course you must have either government or any of the other courses. Fine. So from there, if you are able to come in, again, there's also an entry list for people who are graduates. graduates with first degree. In Unilag, first class, and possibly 2-1, depending on the pressure. You can come in if there's vacancy for you. Again, there's also diploma program or foundation program that people can also come into. Those who come in with UFT will spend 5 years. Those that come in with degree will spend 4 years. Also, those who are coming with the foundation spend 4 years. But that one spent 4 years. 4 plus 1 equals 5. It's still 5 years. So if you are able to do that, then you get admitted. When you get admitted, you must do some courses, which we all know here. Contract, tort, constitutional law, criminal law, evidence law, land law, and so on. I've put them there. I don't need to worry about that. Of course, you are assessed. You either come with a first class, a 2-1, or a 2-2, or a third, depending on the capacity. Whether 2-1, first class, or third, we are all going to the law school. There you will meet law school. You have students having first class in some universities, and they get to law school. And contrast or pass. There's a mismatch. There's somebody who can have a first class, there's something wrong somewhere. Unless the person is skilled, but then it happens that way. Of course, you also have first class in law school and have maybe on 2-2 or even the third in the university. But anything can happen. But you are all going to the same market. But I tell you that in the market, there is discrimination. People prefer to have some law firms, people with first class. They want to have them. First class law school, first class university. Well, sometimes it shows that the person is strong. But not necessarily so. I've seen people with first class and they're just not putting their weight compared to people with 2-2. Of course, there are also different classes. First class is some universities are not the same with some other universities. But whatever it is, nobody stops at LLB again. You need to move forward at LLB and possibly PhD to be able to establish yourself well. So a lot of people lost that this vocational training, you are exposed to various courses aimed at sharp practical skills. You are also exposed to dinner. You have to attend the evangelistic dinner, be well behaved, know how to use talk and eye, and know how to be well dressed. During law school, you also be sent to the courts for court attachments to know what is happening in the courts. Then also you will send to chambers for chamber attachments. If you are able to go through the courses, BAFA, if you are a foreign trade, or BAFA 2, if you are not foreign trade, and you pass your examinations, and the bencher or 2 benchers sign that you are of good behavior, then there's the likelihood of you being called to bar. If you are called to the bar, that gives you a license to be, because in the those students who are called to bar. When I was coming in, I was seeing some students, what were they called? They look like what they were teaching on was so if you are to do that, but we quickly look at that you are being called by the body of lectures. But the examination is conducted under the council of legal education. So there are two separate bodies within the profession regulating their affairs. Again, I want to plead with you that our students, law students, avoid any application malpractice. Because if you have it, there's a likelihood and you are rusticated, and it shows you that you are rusticated. Then I think you have the policy to 5 or 10 years. 5 or 10 years. In other words, they will not admit to law school for 5 years. And that's a serious one. There was a student, I always tell my colleagues that we have to have this student very well. He came to the exam late, very late, 30 minutes. The young class would allow him to sit for the exam. That it's too late. No, allow him to sit, to start. They were on his case. Because he was rushing, he had materials in his pocket. Material relevant, which was using for revision, because he was panicking. And he now caught it and said, he wasn't using it, it was in his pocket. He now said, yes, sir, we found material, give it to me. I said, how come? Where did you find it? On his table or on his pocket? He said, in his pocket. Was it copying for? He said, no. They give it to me. You can accuse me of condoning, but would have destroyed that young man. Today, last 2, maybe 3, 4 years ago, I went to give a lecture somewhere to judges. And he's the judge of the customary court of appeal. And he was frustrated to me. Okay. I didn't know him. Just stand up. That was me. Said you are a lecturer. And so today you're a judge. He said, no. He said, but for you, I will not be a judge. I said, you pass, I don't even know you. He said, no. He now replayed the story of how he came in late for the exam, how out of panic he left the material in his pocket, and how I said, I'm not pressing for exam malpractice. So if he had been processed, he would have been delayed to become a lawyer. And if his record showed that he was teaching, he would not have been appointed judge. And that's the story. But I charge you to please avoid any exam malpractice. From there, we look at the pathway, which you call career. Having become a lawyer, what opportunities are available to you? What path must you follow? Must you be wearing wig and gown every day? If you don't like it, some of you became lawyers because your parents are lawyers. I became a lawyer because my father was a lawyer, and I followed him to court for 2. I saw him blowing Queen's English, and I said, hey, I'll be a lawyer. So in only when I got to complete, they put me in a class for social scientists, where I was doing economics for government, where I would also see how thank you. I was putting for 3C, 3A and B science, 3C and B and C, bit of science, and 3E and F, really pure arts. I raised up my hand. I said, I am in the wrong class. Say why? Let you pass the chemistry. I don't like the great smell of that thing called ammonia. Then I have to work. What to do? But thank God that for that partner. But some of my students say that they are doing it because the parents are forcing them. But then, after forcing you can still do some other things. What are these things? First is to work in a law firm. There are mega law firms in Nigeria that can compete effectively with any law firm across the globe. They partner with them, they collaborate with them. If you want that, it can be that kind of situation. But then there are law firms and there are law firms. Some are commercial law firms that are into advisory services, solicitors work, mergers and acquisition. They don't go to court. They farm out cases to litigators. If you don't have a plan for arguing, if you don't have the capacity, sometimes last week we were somewhere looking at a case involving NNPC, fire outbreak, houses were destroyed, libraries, and we're defending NNPC. And there was a woman who came and said she lost 3 children, blah, blah, blah. I took pity on her, almost crying into that. But a few questions. She was now the youth, okay? By the time we faced herself, and she was scared to at the end of the day. So, if you don't have the capacity for that, then you can do something else with your own account. But I tell you one thing, the best thing to happen to be a member of this situation, if you know what you're doing, it gives you confidence, real confidence that policeman is stopping you on the road. You see that FDA sticker there. If you don't know FDA sticker, it's like to pass you, where you should go. Or you say you are going to court, you have your visa, you have to fill on. Not likely to harass you because there's no way to take you. Not the court will take you. You meet you there. But that is for people who are in private practice. Again, when you qualify, do you want to be in solo practice? Yes and no. But if you say yes, then don't go into it immediately. Make sure you either work in an established law firm, or if you're not fortunate, attach yourself to those law firms, follow them wherever they're going, and see what they are doing. But it is professional suicide for you to qualify today and tomorrow people go shop. You won't get it right. You can't get it right. You need to follow from footsteps. Otherwise, you blame yourself. Sometimes the judges will embarrass you. When are you coming back? Because there are 2 months ago, you say no wonder. You see, unlike doctors that perform surgery in the theater, and they can sew needles without them doing it. For lawyers, it is there that you see have to come on, finish a case. Somebody who is charged for a crime has his lawyer there. As I finish, accused person, line after me, like a line at the cat. Say, no, I don't know it. Then I want to break it. Break it like that. Then you have a lawyer. So, no, it's you. Of course, I don't think I can just carry you. I said my judge not put you that then judge. But the most have been impressed by the performance. So lawyers, but if you are a cost, you can't afford to make mistake or get messed up in the process. Your client obviously partner you. Corporate commercial practice also covers in-house lawyer. It's still corporate. The ladies, thank God for your life. Many of you end up as legal advisor, company secretary. If I ask you now, which of the companies you want to work? Are we hearing Mobile? Are we hearing Sale Flats? Oh yeah, which of the one we find a pay. You don't know. All the big tech companies, mention them. The oil and gas, they are there. Aviation, they are there. Banking, they are there. All of them, they need lawyers as legal advisors to help them look at some things in-house. So you have opportunity as a lawyer to work in-house. I have a daughter who is a lawyer, and she's working in-house with a startup company. Another one is working as a lawyer in an insurance company. So the field is open. Mine is that you have a profession. And when you get tired of what you are doing, maybe your boss is harassing you, or you need time to do things yourself, you can go back and do your practice. But the field is very open. Some people may decide to go into the public sector. There is space for them. Each state has an attorney general's chamber. There are 6 states in the country. For example, in Lagos State, for example, not less than 200 lawyers are in the attorney general's chambers. Federal attorney general will have more than that. 36 states, they will have attorney generals. There you can work in any department, civil litigation, directory of public institution, advisory, and so on and so forth. Some people end up being what they call research assistants. Judges now employ research assistants, but they must be hot to be able to do that job. Now, must have research skills. I've seen people who have research assistants becoming magistrates and judges. It could be a route for you to get there. You could start off as a research assistant to a judge of either the High Court or Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. Other career opportunities include working in National Assembly, for example. National Assembly take laws and a draft law. If you are good in drafting, you can also be there to work for National Assembly or State House of Assembly. You could also work for what they call regulators. Can somebody tell me the they're not doing banking and insurance, central bank of Nigeria. Regulator for insurance companies is what they call National Insurance Commission. They all have in-house lawyers who advise them on daily basis on various issues they are being advised. You can also gain employment there. You also have tax offices, the real tax agency, so the FIRS and you can also work there. I have students working in all these places. Again, if you are tough, you can choose to work in EFCC. EFCC has prosecutors. ICPC has prosecutors who are lawyers. Again, we decide that we want to strengthen our electoral process and work in INEC as a lawyer. So these are openings that are relatively untapped. Again, Nigerian Police Force, Nigerian Army, Navy, Air Force, all have lawyers working in the various legal departments. Some of them have directorates of legal services, like MP, Nigerian Police Authority, NIMASA. These are places that they have lawyers being hired. You may choose. Let me ask you, how many of you, quite honestly, want to take to what the doctor has been doing to be an academician? I want to be a Mr. Lecturer. Let me see your hand. Among the students, have we inspired you? Okay. If you're not lecturing, what do you want to talk? Oil and gas. How many? Oil and gas, how many of you? Thank you. Thank you. Bless you. So you're doing academic strategy, oil and gas. I saw two hands. One for television and one for oil and gas. Oil and gas. But you don't tell me why you want to lecture. Is it about the marking or the stress or what? As you see, am I getting stress? You don't know it. The best thing that can happen to you is to be an academician. You guys that are going to oil and gas, I have you for at age 45 or 50, you are made of projects. You are being retired. This one, we can be here until 70. So it's the part enjoyment. So if you want it rapid result, go that way. But if you want something comfortable that will be enduring, come over and join us. So there's what you can do, as I mentioned, you can practice. And I keep on telling people that I'm a living testimony. Some of the things I get prepared are based on referrals from my former students who are working in those places. To say, this kind of things, go and give it to book. You will not compromise, and it will take very deep. Academicians have a way of knowing and seeing what others are not seeing. So, apart from the salary academician, you can do it. Rising news in terms of acting as expert witnesses. The money you say you pay in 1 year in oil and gas, if I act as expert witnesses, I will make it 1 million. Courtesy of being here as academician. They don't just bring anything. It's a talk that they will bring. Talk with quotes. What they're calling a talk is nothing. So it's not that bad if you consider being an academician. You also have academicians who made it to the bench. After becoming professors, they went through the high courts. And today, they are either in Supreme Court or they have retired. I cited the life of Justice Ajay, who is still there. I mean, now who just represented, he was lecturing in the law school before they called the bench. I also cited Justice Achike Nikitobi, Testing Alliance, was from the University of Lagos, became Attorney General, became the CJD, and went to Haiti. What other CV are you looking for? It's not about money alone, it's also about recognition. So you also have their works being cited, being used to solve problems. Supreme Court of Appeal. I cited Professor Ben Marcus and also Professor Jelly Motola as example. If you don't like if you don't like academia, if you don't like in-house work, do you like what they call AGR? It's called Alternative Dispute Resolution. You can be the mediator, president, and speaker. For their so when people are fighting, you can mediate. What is the problem? Have we not solved the problem this way? You can also be a conciliator, a consigning business. And finally, you can decide to be an arbitrator. That is not going to court. It's informal, it's friendly, and fast. And you can make your money. Or a lot of lawyers make money also by being arbitrators. There are some lawyers who practice law and also still act as arbitrators. Again, if you like to do pro bono cases, or if you are the champion of human rights, that when people are suffering, you are the one that have the watches to go and fight for them. Then come to me and let's join hands to come human rights and civil society party. I think you have a balance. That one I make one thing. I say you call yourself human rights. We know ourselves. As a lawyer in the morning and human rights in the evening. He's not doing public cases, but they shout and shout, shout, shout. And Bakuba also human rights. Today we have Chiwore and Chiwore. We want to be Chiwore. We also have a seller that an NGO. There are so many of them. You have a lady with us, like Akiyode. She's lecturing and also has an NGO outlet that is also doing human rights, child abuse, women abuse, all kind of things. If that is your passion, then we also have an open for you after you must have qualified as a lawyer. Again, we look at international organizations like UNESCO, African Union, China Court of Justice as areas that lawyers are needed and can get them. Oil and gas, mentioned it, maritime and intellectual property, all require lawyers, and there are openings for you to work in many groups. But the thing that has come to assist us. And I see people writing projects now, AI-based projects. As a lawyer, as a teacher, I'm trained. The teachers, you are smiling, know what you're talking about. As a teacher, I'm trained to know your ability. If you are scoring 2.0 in particular in the particular subject, and you do a project that subject, and you're having 5.7, there's a mismatch. And there are also devices used in detecting that is. For these days, everybody, lawyers and non-lawyers, are using AI. Even our clients are using AI to interrogate us. There was a case where people could do it in the show, and the court was on it was on strike, state high court. And this guy came and said, can't you go to Abuja? Said the contract is in OAE. Abuja is jurisdiction. Said, well, can't you go to federal high court? Federal high court has jurisdiction. I said, because it involves federal bank. Said yes. Okay. Before he said Jesus is Lord, they brought in materials. AI saying this is what is just used. For once I doubted myself. And now look at it. Look at the cases cited. Old cases on federal court jurisdiction that talks about once it involves federal agency, you go to the federal court. That's what they call party jurisdiction. But they are saying to move away from party alone, from the party and subject matter jurisdiction. Then AI cited a section of 251 of the Constitution to him, which also showed me. Because I was one of those people who crafted the institution, I knew that they did not give him the full thing. AI stopped where he wanted to stop. And that was where my own taste began. And I said, Mr. Lawyer, you weren't allowed to do it. That was not the job. This you are your AI. You score 0. That read the provision in full, then you know what you're talking about. But again, knowledge of AI can be employed in whatever you are doing. Of course, you also have data protection and privacy law. You can work in that area. Cyber security law. There are people developing themselves in that area as experts in cyber security law. You may want to explore that too. And so fintech and blockchain law. And finally, you have international policy and climate justice. I want to say that the categories are not close. There are opportunities. Once you're a lawyer and you are able to keep in a particular area, become master of that field and become expert in that field. So the next thing we would like to examine is the judicial part. In other words, you may decide to be an adjudicator, a judge. You can start from magistracy to Supreme Court. There are some of them who began as magistrates, and today they are there in Supreme Court. So you can go through the hierarchy of it. But of importance is that we cited Section 6 of the Constitution has given Supreme Court the power. So the courts, the judicial part of the federation, vested in courts and also in the states. Now we also see that judicial independence is important, and then also well-defined career opportunity. So we look at the various courts, rising from Supreme Court for the magistrate courts. People must occupy these positions. Then people who are there, whether they like it or not. I'm showing you also the CJN, which I tender also as an exhibit. We were classmates in the University of Lagos. Today she's my boss as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and I'm happy for her and I celebrate her. But she rose from magistracy to become the Chief Justice of Nigeria. She heads all the courts in Nigeria. So you look at it, can rise all the way magistracy to becoming justice of Supreme Court. At least you know the hierarchy of courts in Nigeria, and possibly end up in CJA of Nigeria. Now, bigger framework, there we just examine the various laws regulating the legal profession. Essentially, identify Legal Professions Act of 1975, the Legal Education Constitutional Act, the Legal Business Legal Services, and Presidential Order of 2023, and the rules of professional ethics. All of them have been set out there to show the various organs controlling the profession. You have the Nigerian Bar Association there as the body that we all belong to. It regulates us, also get involved in disciplinary action. Then you also have the body of benchers. There's always a fight, and the fight will continue. As which one is the more superior body between body of benchers of Nigeria? I do not know. But because that place is populated by judges now, they are having priority over us. Some of them belong to two bodies, a bencher and they also a son, double portion, because it's married to a twin. It belongs to two. But they have the problem. Which of them is superior to the other? The matter will interrogate, not at the forum, but somewhere else. But these are bodies regulating the profession which are set up because the time is fast spent and because of its importance. The message I have for you is that it is 21, 37, with if you can project it, legal profession, moral and ethical issues. This one assumes that by the grace of God, you have become a lawyer. What are society's expectations? How do you contribute to the respect of the profession? How do you ensure that you don't bring disrespect and disrepute to the profession? ethics. Vice versa, the legal profession differs fundamentally from the ordinary commercial enterprise. Lawyers are neither traders nor businessmen or women. Lawyers are professionals. The legal profession is a public calling. This decision was eloquently emphasized by Lord Daniel when he observed that the legal profession is a profession, not a trade. Lawyers are ministers in the temple of justice. Consequently, our loyalty is first and foremost to the courts and the ethics of the profession. Lawyers occupy a unique position in every constitutional democracy. Lawyers are custodians of justice and guardians of the rule of law. Our dual responsibility creates ethical tensions that are often difficult to navigate. The philosopher Aristotle argued that virtue is cultivated through habit and character formation. From this perspective, professional excellence cannot be separated from the moral discipline. A good lawyer must first strive to become a good person. In modern legal systems, public confidence in of justice depends substantially on the integrity of legal practitioners. Once society lacks confidence in lawyers and in courts, constitutional governance begins to erode. This explains why professional discipline is central to legal regulation. The rule of professional conduct for legal professionals in Nigeria impose obligations relating to honesty, confidentiality, fidelity to clients, respect for the court, avoidance of conflict of interest, and maintenance of professional dignity. These obligations are not ornamental. They are foundational to the survival of the profession. Madam Vice Chancellor, one of the most serious contemporary concerns is the increasing commercialization of our profession. In many jurisdictions, success in the profession is measured excessively by wealth, visibility, political access, or social media influence. The danger of this trend is that professional values may gradually become subordinate to commercial incentives. Where profit becomes the primary organizing principle of legal practice, ethical compromise becomes increasingly likely. This concern is not merely theoretical. The abuse of court process, frivolous litigation, procedural manipulation, and deliberate delay tactics often reflect a deeper institutional crisis, the relation of professional ethics. In Kotoye and Saraki, the Supreme Court strongly condemned abuse of judicial process, emphasized that litigation must not become an instrument of oppression or manipulation. The case remains a powerful reminder that legal procedure must serve justice rather than frustrate it. It is gratifying that abuse of court process is being addressed by the courts by referring every counsel to the various side bodies in the profession and through the award of punitive costs personally against such counsel. Now, as keep that of technology, I move to corruption. Another major challenge confronting many developing legal systems is institutional corruption. Corruption has evidently grown steadily in Nigeria. continuity. I do not want to bother you. Also, public trust. Now, my reflections and conclusion. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chancellor, and Chair of the Governing Council, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have journeyed through an expansive legal landscape this afternoon. We began our inquiry by anchoring ourselves on the dispensation of justice in pre-colonial era against the backdrop of customary and Sharia system, the structural shifts of the colonial legal order and the 1914 amalgamation. We unspooled the regulatory narrative that birthed the modern legal profession in Nigeria, honoring foundational steps like laid down by Unsworth Committee of 1959 and the subsequent structural implementation of Legal Education and Legal Practitioners Act. We have today examined the path to the legal profession. We blueprinted a rich legal, multi-diverse, multiverse, where your qualification serves as an immediate, unencumbered passport to international policy, tech, governance, sports, arbitration, complex fintech, asset management, as well as corporate compliance. As we synthesize these vast dimensions, you must confront a fundamental truth. Technology will change your tools. The market will change your pricing. Globalization will change your borders. But nothing can change the core ethical imperatives of your calling. Will the future lawyers who are here merely possess technical sophistication, or will he also embody ethical responsibility? Will professional success be measured only by visibility and wealth, and also by integrity, courage, and social loyalty? The competitive favor of the market will frequently tempt you to prioritize speed over substance and ephemeral victories over enduring reputation. Do not succumb to trap or professional corner cutting. In an area where artificial intelligence can synthesize raw computational, thousands of code pages in a matter of seconds, your commercial premium does not lie in the computational speed. It lies in your unassailable professional integrity, your deep analytical judgment, and your moral courage. Clients may seek you out for your intellectual brilliance, but they will only stay with you because of your unassailable character. You must therefore freely preserve and respect the institutional identity and the noble profession you are entering or you are inheriting. As I reflect on the recent judicial intervention that have shaped our professional landscape, including the robust conversation surrounding regulatory boundaries in Victor Nwadike and MBA, and the decisive judgment in case of HLD RAP against incorporated trustees of MBA. The message to next edition is unmistakably clear. The legal profession in Nigeria remains one indivisible, statutorily protected family. Do not expend energy chasing parallel, non-statutory, or unverified honors like blue silk initiative. Instead, commit yourself to time-tested path of professional excellence. Build an undeniable record of meticulous craftsmanship, flawless ethical compliance, outstanding leadership in your chosen field, and significant contributions to legal scholarship. If your path lies within the grand colossum of dispute resolution, let your exceptional dedication naturally steer you towards our profession's ultimate destination. The law is not a monument to be passively admired. It is an instrument of societal engineering that must be wielded by collegious minds. That's per Nekitobi. The chair of Governing Council, Madam Vice Chancellor. I would like to end by saying that as I look across this auditorium, from the twilight of over 4.5 decades of active and uninterrupted engagement with the legal profession, I do not see the hall full of anxious law students. There's no anxiety at all. What I see is the engine room of tomorrow's global legal order. I see you as the shape shifters, the deal makers, great jurists of trial and appellate courts, and policy architects who will redefine the boundaries of African prosperity. Madam Vice Chancellor, the long history of our noble profession, stretching from the brilliant advocacy of Christopher Alexander Sakwala Williams in 1879 to the digital pioneers navigating
We have started something very great in our university. But we are going to come. First of all, thank you so much. The Vice Chancellor was able to organize and prosperity rather than successful in the church. And to the great students of the Agricultural University Faculty of Law, I think today we have been challenged. You are also very lucky because in our time, we never had this opportunity. And I want you to run and run very far. It's a great opportunity. I would like to end by putting on what Professor Tao had just which is very instructive. Application to meet the challenges of a specific era. And what you have to say, hold fast to your integrity, protect the unity of a global profession, and master the technological tools of your era, and build a career that meets an indelible mark on the snap of time. This is very challenging, because I believe strongly that for us to move forward in this country, we need to be solid institutions in all its ramifications. And just like that, the law of profession is key in building a solid institution in this country. I'm not going to dwell so much on that, but I believe strongly that if we have a law profession that is highly proactive to the challenges of the day, I think this country will be better. And you have played a role. I believe that our future belongs to the incoming generation. And that is why this is very important. In other words, whenever you find yourself, because they are actually having a want to lecturers, none of the place of your hand. So you are not more proud for being a lecturer. But I believe that as time goes on, you realize that we need to develop more of you as lecturers because we need to continue to pass the knowledge. What was other things you have to operate with the law of integrity and the law profession. That is a traditional law profession. In those days, there were 37 people that would expect and be in their society. Doctors, because as easy with intention. Secondly, the members of the clergy and third, the lawyers. They hold the highest position in our society. But I believe strongly that we have lost it. But that is not so good. That is what this lecture has just. And I want to thank the Professor Shikito once again for accepting my invitation. And we can thank you for your blessing. And by the way, to thank them on my behalf, it's not objective. Gaskela is a big man, he's a rich man, he's a successful man, it's not objective. Thank you.
Things understanding, want to the influence and to anchor this particular session. I would like to give the deputy vice chancellor of academics, Professor Abolake, and unable to join the chairman of the council to the person as and highlight to our distinguished lecturer.
Thank you very much. It is my honor this afternoon for this great occasion to present this souvenir today to Professor Taiwo Quentin. On behalf of the chairman of the Golden Council of Madaikas University and the vice chancellor and all the management team, Senate token to appreciate you for this very appreciated lecture that you have given us this afternoon and your contribution to the legal scholarship. We say thank you very much for
On behalf of the entire party of law to be led by the main party, so that the vice chancellor, members of the council, are great university, the University. I would like to present this as a token. So we cannot thank you because usually let me make this confession. When I come back, I had stories and I stories in my room. Said to myself, I hope Professor I will ask for this work of mention. That will do I will have a picture of. But when my section of problem, say, phrase it all. So I'm sure the whole board, especially as students, that you want to be identified with these students, regardless of the security situation. I tell you that this is we have very, very I like that too.
So we will go to our guest lecturer, Professor Tara Shigito, who we want to direct one or two questions to before we begin to the round. Now it is time to entertain one or two questions from students of faculty or faculty members. Please, can we have one, two questions? Just one or two, and we'll be start to answer. Please, if you have a question, will you please come forward to begin and present your question to our guest speaker? Please. Okay, please come forward to begin. Thank you. Your name. Thank you very much, sir. My name is Wona Shibana. Before I go let me know. Academic pathway, and despite amazing that despite amazing that you be a profession since 1998, and you later became a senior Nigerian. So I want to ask, irrespective of the pathways, a legal and legal mind is here, irrespective of the pathways that any legal mind is showing. What has been staying power? What has kept you work in relation to any pathway in which legal is actually contributed? Thank you very much. Thank you.
So my question is, so my question is that what advice would you give to young students who would like to venture into ADR arbitration? What are the suggested pathways and solutions and advices that you'd like to improve?
Okay, now we have to talk. Now we have
So my
yeah,
I read lecture because it's impactful and comprehensive and well. I really appreciate it so much because they don't really like take me that we don't really have experience. Like they don't teach us anything. So sometimes
You really need to think about it. Like, so I really put it down how, like, and had this profession from like something that why not so I did not like that really dedicated to this. So that's my question, Sam.
Good evening, sir. My name is Ogila. I live in Iman. I'm a 200 student. My question is related to the last week. Maria plans for those students. For aspirants, human rights and civil society, what should the advice be? Like, is it okay? What should be our approach to human rights and society as a career path, legal profession? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You can, or, okay, okay, that's, uh,
My name is Oracle and my question is, I will start off with a statement. When I think of law, I do not think of law as just legal system. And I'm really honest with what from a study of our various courses so far, because I can't have a critical mind, I get to see the loophole laws that are relevant. And so, why do you think that every year lawyers have, sent a feedback with the study of the present law and not with the knowledge of how to make laws and policies that our nation needs to survive? Why is the study of law limited rather to just the law system that is available at this time and not what we can give based on the knowledge of our policies and
my name is Darala, impressional question. My first question is, aside from applying the ladder and legal application from going to law school, looking for a job, most people don't really do the business aspect of law. And the fact that aside from research and academic endeavor of law, it's from my study, I feel like law is really challenging as regards to monetary and business aspect. For example, you heard of a major prominent movement in Nigeria. But there are some people out there who have capability, knowledge, skills, and academic capacity. But they don't know how to handle the business and the relationship aspect of law. Then that was the question is, aside from what helps? Because why we learn at some stage in life, it's what happens is it can be depressing. You going to research, read, and study material. But by the time you come back home, you have nothing to do with it. Is it possible for lawyers while at a young age to diversify without it being a distraction? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Odawa. 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 My name is O allow me to know. I'm a corner that goes to the 500 level line. So I have a question. What about how basic in the legal profession? You spoke about different specializations like ADR, private justice, public sector. So I have a question that how easy is it to transition between these? Because for example, let's say I'm interested in oil and gas, and you said that by age 50, you might get an example, and you might need to step down for beyond professional. So let's say in that instance, how can someone transition to, let's say, academia or research? How easy is it? What would be when it comes to transitioning between specialization in the legal profession? That's my first question. Then the second question, as students, how can we equip ourselves before stepping into the legal profession? For example, you spoke about research aspects. Is it possible for students to be that how can possible ways you can improve your capacity to be in the legal profession, even though you are not yet working, but for example, like being a research assistant or being an academic writer? That's our question. Thank you.
So, our distinguished speaker, towards you, sir.
Very, very interesting asking questions. Try to go through them. Let me quick ask some problem. Allow me and how identify various aspects that specialize in. And if you get tired, one aspect, how do you move to the other, or you get tired, one aspect, how do you move to the other? And if you master each and have got to change, it's possibly possible. That's why stop can move from one field. But for you to make success out of the legal field, you should first of all identify your role model in the area you are going to. In doing the captain that area. For example, if I want to be a full-time arbitrator, I know you are chartered who will regularly put up position themselves and align themselves with them and undergo systematic change with them. If they are having habitual processes, I can ask the crowd to sit to watch what is going on. If they are having meetings for the judges, I can ask them and allow them to sit down there and see how it is done. But I cannot say because I start of Nigeria, because I can handle arbitration with somebody handles arbitration. Every area requires experience. I've had those who take lots of time, who after finishing either in the past or even as the vice chancellor of the university. After I got pregnant, one wonderful, they will lead you to precious cause. So you come to the office, we'll show you the plans. We'll prepare together. We are not course. I will announce September meeting, and I will identify that these are the areas I'm looking at. I think the moving area by the time 12 or 3-4 months, and I'll say, my friend who is also who investigated. Go and find yourself with me. They want you was bad of school. If you can't say the laws that you cannot learn. Then very soon, yours or ours is a landed profession. I call it landed.
Not because you have to, but because you open your heart. Very good plan. But that is a reflection that is bad in order to remain like it is not bad. That's negative fire. So if it was moved from one aspect of law, other, I was spent so many years. Identify the area you want to have interest in. Identify the leaders that area. Associate with them. Study them. Make it people. But if you say you don't want to you make it say that mistake is not too prevalent. They don't have courage to move up that way. So the transition must transit there by identifying who have something offerings. Then legal assistance, but research and the students at the same time. You don't know whether students are full-time students or part-time students. That is nothing. If they are full-time students, no judge who is aware that they are full-time students will sign you on. But what you can do is that if you have people like that during your vacation, during long vacation or not during long vacation, you could find such judges who are researching the particular area. Alternatively, in this age of virtual IT and stuff, the judge can refer you, can refer some cases to you for you to research virtually. And if they have 5 sentences, spare time, you can do it as side hustle. But if it is too time consuming, it may affect your performance in school. So do it wisely, particularly during holidays. You can enter the judge, you can enter the chambers during professional time, can show you there, you have this problem. Can you go and research on it? That is how we do. Cannot do it on a full-time basis along with studies. That can be government meter with power. That is what advice is. The next person, talking about the diversification by young boys in terms of doing some other things. I don't really know about that. The profession we are coming into is a jealous profession. Jealous. The moment you leave it for 2-3 years, you do something else. Lost it. Because there are developments on daily basis. So you make up your mind on what. I have friends who find themselves as lawyers in the morning and businessmen in the evening. Some of them want hotels and blah blah blah. They are making money. They are doing this, they are doing that. So from my experience, they are not as solid as well. They are not solid in the profession. You don't need time to be better. For example, I was somewhere no one was discussing the case that I needed something in court. Unfortunately, actually important. There's nothing in this case. I wanted me to apply for the admission as a general. Said there's nothing in this case, how to discuss it. Said my lord, I hear you. There's nothing in this case. Said my lord, I'm not being attested. Said me, coming to you without anything. No, there's something. Don't the Lord is not saying what I'm saying. Walking for me that day, there was no light. So, because my job said, come back to your name. I will business man. I cannot go back to objectives. Now knowing her mindset, how to capture her. I said, then we have somebody. This is the cases we need to bring up. You have to do with it. Whether you need to wait for your rights to be infringed before you apply for enforcement of your right and fair. So they have not begun, blah, blah, blah. And we tell them, so I don't, we raise a question, I have answers for you. I said, what would be section 46, section 1 for the constitution? We don't know why section 1 we know that when forced to human rights, the person who alleges that is right has been, is being, or likely to be violated, has access to it. So I don't have to wait until that right. Likely to and I get that. And if I incidentally listen, where people who are that crime as accusers were convicted. They were going to discipline him, they were the accusers, they were the witnesses, they were the judge. So before the trial began law, when we walked, people said, the gate is open to you where your right is exactly. Praise the Lord, the message for you you are entering into the terrorism. If you don't mind using this system, if you don't mind not getting it right, then you can do it because you must survive. But if you mind about the basis of the for example, I tell people who get business that in our chambers, the sort of basis of cases, 90% of cases are one. Not because of everything, because we take time to analyze. Sometimes when you say there's something there's something there, and bring everything to you. But you requires a and there are only 24 hours in a day. You must visualize, you must do this, something like that. So, if you can combine anything like that, for example, you are not likely to do like lack of all tricks. You are going to master that. So, I want to ask you that if you want to be in this system, go and face this business. You want to be a lawyer, face your lawyer. Don't try to do the results. You can make money, but the moment they do that, you are not delivering, they will be the. So I don't support this issue of diversification. Okay, I also have the business aspect of law that is called theory. My check on it is that it's not connected with the curriculum. You are being taught what the NUC, National University of Education, has authorized the veterans teaching. So, unless we will also expand into maybe an elective, maybe business studies, practical business studies as an elective. But you must have the minimum course content as prescribed by NUC and planning for the administration. So to achieve that, you might need an amendment of the curriculum. Or your university as a policy can start teaching business methods as an elective in addition to the core courses. Nobody will be going for that. Like that sense of the line, who the evolution of the law students, they are allowed to offer courses, practical business confronted by people who have intervened as an elective that lead you to answer questions easily. Then also, there was a question on gaps in the law. That there are sometimes the thoughts and theories and what is happening outside is different. Now, the law is really behind development in society. That calls for law reform. Your teachers can really teach you the law as it is. Those who are hesitant can teach you the law as a form of different. But you know the basis and what they are going to do. But the courts apply the law as it is. the law reformer and the academia will receive the law and say, this is what we do. But it's not where we say this is what the law should be. How responsible is the legislative part of the government? Don't forget that the courts are there to interpret the law. The courts cannot make rules. They cannot fill the gaps in the law. So when we want to be challenging our lawmakers in Abuja and other assemblies that they should embark on the law reform, but the court will apply law instances. And when they are against the law and the attention are called, then they should quickly amend the law, that the law align with our development in society. That will be my recommendation on that. I think there was also something about those human rights and scholarly wonders that how do you keep your human rights? My approach to that is similar to what I have said earlier. Look for the flagships, the leaders of the human rights and work yourself with them. Then if they are having workshop, conferences, and seminars, you go there, make your work, be visible and audible. In good time, they will appreciate you and make sure that you are also integrated into that area. Somebody raised that we don't raise the issue of career path, the approach to the ADR. If you want to keep the ADR, how do you go into this? Well, the bills I have for this is I belong to the board of the ADR, the number of public actions. We want to do is to catch people. We have your administrators group. If you form that group and you get fully dig, I will make sure that the register of that essentially comes in and give you career for. You go to make a regular before them your administrators group. Once you have 10 to 15, they will tell you how to keep it. But once you are qualified, they run process. No, they have resources for administrators. They run process for lawyers and starting at an entry point as an associate member, then can become a federal and also become charter. So the message is that you want to start early. Let's work and will ensure that you are recognized as a law by my own institute. And also lawyers require that virtual office to interact on how you can become member of the law. Somebody raised that they are being talked about what we discussed today, that we are not done, that they are not to nitty-gritty, but nitty-gritty of it. And there are also no texts that go that believe that there is an issue of curriculum. If, for example, there is a course for legal profession, your curriculum, you will go to this business. But there's also also the best get something to the legal system. I have a set of legal system, the constitution, and majorly for books on professional ethics. So I'd like to assure you that when you do the gospel, you will find materials and books on this nitty-gritty of the legal profession. Don't forget that our starting point was to say that I'm picking a relatively neutral government, which nobody can say in any capacity that he or she has before. There's no way anybody will and they teach in their profession. You have totally not made people open your eyes with it as an advantage when you begin discussing the laws of the spirit. I think the last question, the first one, was by thinking saying that I have known a professor since 1998. I didn't really know this. You know, also because I haven't been professor 2022. Again, that was from years ago, before many of us were born. So, what is the sustaining power? That is my secret. It's my faith, it's my intellectual property. More to share the sustaining power is ability to remain focused. Very focused. You know, right now, who's about this, my friends? They are drinking, they are there, they are dressing, they are smoking. We are doing what this and taking my food. Many of them, you see, like you can keep watching. We do what I don't know my identity. There are some of my colleagues in Ireland, in our local list, will tell you, I can move fast. You come to our house, I'm just with you. This is anything. The way you are saying, you're welcome. I will just with you. I'm doing my work. I don't really find there was not a point. I really focused. So you need to be very, very focused and attention whatever you're doing. Do everything with attention. What above all is the efficacy of prayer. Efficacy of prayer. If you don't know the thing that anything on your own, you'll be lucky till you finish your lesson. But as soon as you step out, there will be challenges. I can tell you, there will be challenges. Whether you are working now or you are teaching or whatever, you will have people who will be looking at you and be telling you, are you doing your best? As a professional, as a staff, who was somewhere yesterday, maybe in the group. Sometimes I remember, I was always the most enough to qualify to speak at a particular place. And somebody came to me, you are officer, and says, so I don't want to speak. He says, you don't want to speak. Says, yes. The word. But also, you don't immediately whatever is happening. Most of the time, I let go on some things. First thing I let go, I'm not possible to break you. Then, as students, I show, on the other ones, I show kindness. And when the students pray on the bottom of the heart, somebody, there's an answer. Many of them, I don't know that you will see him and say, you fought me there, you don't protect. So, kindness was above all, is the efficacy of prayer. You go to court, come out of court. It's not by your power, not by your might, but by his mercy. So his grace is abundant. So pray for it. And if you have that, and you focus, and you also live righteousness. Challenges will come, because they will come, but when they come, the power will come. That's not right for me. I think that's not.
Thank you for taking time to exhaust and address all the questions that our students posed. We are so grateful. Now, I would like to invite the Dean of Policy, Lord Jackie Crowder, to the presentation.
Professor Fernando Pereira, the facility of shots, it is
Pro Chancellor and Chairman of Council, distinguished members of this council, including my Lord's spiritual grace, most Reverend Kubeti, and my Lord Bishop in the backyard of my domain. Thank you for being here. The Vice Chancellor, principal officers, student members, ladies, owners of the officials, including academic and non-academic, and of course our students, aspirants can be back, for whom this event was meant, and whom I believe have benefited funding for me, considering their interest in asking questions. Now let me just make an observation from the speech of our guest speaker about being focused and staying the course. I think that's something I will commend to you, the students, always. In all that you can do, or that you are doing, at least focus and stay the course. Also, Professor Sotomayor made some allusions to courses, and the one I think I will want to champion is legal history, which we don't have as a course of anymore, which I think should expose our students to for their benefit. The day has been long and exciting from the lecture which we had and the interactions there. And my job is to thank everyone that has been part of this, from the Pro Chancellor, who was the motivator and contributor, to, of course, our council members who have been supporting our activities, and our Vice Chancellor, who has also been very actively involved in this, I can tell you that. And our DBC in particular, who have put all this together for us, and of course, our faculty committee, headed by Professor Anthony. I thank everyone for being here, and I pray that our students benefit from this. And as I have been assured by the Pro Chancellor, this is going to be a continuum of more of this. He has told me that he will be highly supportive, and I know the BC is also interested in this, and I can assure our students that the power of this in the future to let them know and be exposed to the profession they intended to belong to the manifold groups. And thank you all for being here, and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Professor Henry Professor, guide us. What's this?
Let's rise up. In Jesus' name. Father, we are so grateful for the glorious success distinguished election, the fact that we distinguished personality election. Thank you, Lord, for your presence with us all through the election. Thank you for all those who came. Thank you for the real wisdom, strength, and utterance you give to investigators. Professor Taiwo, blessed you deliver the idea of yourself and we can reach nation. We give you all the glory in the mighty name of Jesus. I pray for all that this lecture will be a practical, professional, and intellectual benefit to our students, legal scholars in faculty of law, and to all participants in this lecture. In the mighty name of Jesus. To depart now, Lord, for your presence to be with us. Safety shall be the portion of the best lecturer, and all of that best lecturer will come to our life. In the mighty name of Jesus. Continue to be our Lord faculty and make it great. Make it one of the best in the global community. Pray, O Lord, that the spirit of excellence shall not cease in this faculty. We give you glory, Father. In Jesus' name we have prayed.
This is what we do with the Vice Chancellor was come forward to declare the program closed.
Let's have our seats. Let's have our seats. And declaring the lecture closed. But now without giving this assignment now to our students. We had a visit of the Council of Legal Education 2 months ago. And the DG, Dr. Ogunmisola Odushotu, made a request that we should consider very seriously. And we are considering it very seriously. We are open to our students coming into the faculty to be members of the Faculty of Law, Jare Crowther University. We are seriously waiting for them to come back and build this faculty. That's the first one. I want to tell you, there is prestige in lecturing. There is money in lecturing. I read philosophy. If I come back again to this world, I will read philosophy. I've traveled to over 20 countries in this world with my profession, philosophy. The next one is we are going to give all the students of the Faculty of Law this lecture. Free of charge. Free of charge. We are going to bring history, but without assignment. And the final year students will submit this assignment before the service you are having for final year students next week, June 24. Because if you have a case between now and June 24, we'll prepare for it. and you prepare well, and you excel. So the assignment goes thus. For those who are not graduating, you take it home and then you submit your assignment as you are receiving. The assignment goes thus. You read this lecture and you tell us your pathway, your tentative pathway. In other words, it's not only that you are reading this lecture, but you are going to research more on that pathway. And so the question is, what is your pathway in the legal profession? And how can you excel? How can you get there? And how can you excel? Did you get the question? Are you writing it down? I'm going to run it myself. You know I have the time. You know I can do it. So distribute to the two HODs. The students will come for it. They will append their signature, write their matric numbers, and then return the e-copy and the soft copy of that assignment as you are resuming next session. For those who are graduating, it's compulsory that you submit before June 24. And I also want to assure you, sir, that the Senate of this university is one step ahead of that question of the business aspect of not only law, of all the courses in this university. And we have just said anything. And if you go back to their faculties and departments, so we were supposed to take that at the last Senate, but we had a very tight secretary. And so we are taking it even more seriously now. All the students in the faculties and departments, they are charged to write the entrepreneurial aspect of their course and submit it. And then we'll take it all from here. And so it's becoming even more compulsory now. I will give you a feedback. Approach and say something. We'll give you a feedback. We will take it up from there. And on this note, I want to thank everyone for coming. And I want to declare the 2026 Faculty of Law Distinguished Personality Lecture closed. Thank you. Rise and say the national anthem before we go. National anthem, last stand by the national anthem. Please, the national anthem.
Not about improvement of gains of his funds. Please, the Lord, especially in Council, please. Allow leaders. Next.